beginning. Okay, so I am the online learning course director here at Keesler Faculty Development, and my role is I serve as a combination of instructor, CDM or curriculum development manager. I have some training manager duties. I also work on a lot of special projects that are associated with the online learning realm. One of them, which was starting these Blackboard webinars, which started as a small thing and have blown up into this monthly awesome training that I get to spend with all of you. And like I said, I have my regulars who are here every week that I love seeing all your names pop up on the screen. So if you're new to this, the way that this works is that I will be going through a series of topics associated with one area, and your webinar guide is going to kind of serve as your study guide, and we're going to be following along with that as I do a demonstration. So what are the topics? Who's ready to get started? All ready? Okay. We are ready. I'm excited. This is my fun time every month that I get to spend with you. Awesome. Woohoo! I like it when people are excited. I'm a weirdo and I get excited about all this stuff. All right. Awesome. Here we go. So today, this is what we are going to be looking at. So we have a lot more topics this month, and which means that I am not going to get into the weeds too much on each of them. I'm really going to show you some of the basics on how to create these and how to edit them and where to go to find them. And you'll notice that your webinar guide this month is quite lengthy. So in addition to some of the steps that I provided, in the back, you're also going to see some best practices that I added on certain situations and certain things that you can utilize some of these tools to create a more active environment and kind of allow students to collaborate and work together a little bit more. So we're going to go over using announcements, which I use heavily in my online courses. Also going to look at using blogs, what those are, how we can use them, how to create them. Discussions. Discussions are probably the most heavily utilized tool in your online courses, and that's because it should mimic the discussion and groupthink that you have in an in-resident classroom. The problem that we run into with using discussions is that a lot of people don't like them, because what is it that we generally see with discussions? Throw it in there, throw it in the chat. What do you guys usually see with discussions? You take an online class. What is usually the requirement? Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? Bueller? There we go. Reply to 2 students. Original post and 2 replies. About yourself and your background. 1 initial post, 2 replies. Yes. So that is pretty much the standard of using your threaded discussions. However, you can use them in a varied number of ways. So using that to get student inputs and have them comment on one another, but using them in certain situations. One example that I use them for is I create breakout groups in AOL where it's separate discussions. So it's not your standard, everyone responds to everybody in the class. So you can utilize them in different ways. Also, in groups, sorry, we have an exercise that's just kicking off. It's not going to affect us, but I just had a pop-up come up. Groups is another tool that you can use if you want to have students do group work, or you want to group them together where they can collaborate with one another. Another thing is a wiki, and we'll talk about what that is. And then finally, one tool or a question I get a lot of is, how do we add external tools? And this can be videos, this can be pictures. If you've taken our Elite course, which I see several names of you who have, and you've seen how we've embedded tools like Padlet or embedded Edpuzzle or other external tools, we'll talk a little bit about how to do that. Oh, go to the next slide. So in the window, or in the chat, tell me, what tool are you most interested in learning about? Web 2.0. That was quick. Michael was quick on the draw. He really wants to learn about Web 2.0. Any other tools that you guys are interested in learning about? Web 2.0, okay. So I will tell you, I'm not going to go too extensively into Web 2.0. In your guide, I did give you a link that I'm going to want you to look at. And I want to make sure that you check that out, because that one is a really extensive list that has a lot of great tools on it. The key to finding a good tool, though, is to test it out to see if it works on the AppNet. If you are developing an online course, the key is you want something that's going to work on both commercial internet and also on the AppNet. And I know that that can be kind of tricky because, you know, not everything works on the AppNet. Oh, and for example, we are on the AppNet on this session, so if I lose you, as we have done last month, we're all just going to come back in. For some reason, DCS no longer wants to work on commercial internet, so I'm having to resort to just using the AppNet. So with that, we're going to go ahead and go into Blackboard. So make sure you have your webinar guide handy. And if you give me just a minute, I am going to get my screen ready. So if you turn to page 3, that is where we start on announcements. So announcements are a great tool. I love announcements. They are an excellent way for you to get information to your students on a broad scope. And the beauty about announcements is you can also make sure that you have it sent to their email. So if your students are not logged into the course, they still get the announcement, they still get the information, and that way you're not having to hunt down everybody's email. You just send it through the course, you type up the information, you put in what you need to, and it gets out to all your students. I like to say that your announcements serve kind of as your news feed. I also, if you guys remember when I was talking about setting up your course, I always like to have my announcements as my landing page, because as soon as the students log in, the first thing that they're going to see is your announcements. So here in my demonstration course, you'll see that I've kind of created a quick little announcement just as a demonstration of what it looks like in the instructor view. If you look above, you should see where it says Create Announcement. And when you press Create Announcement, it's going to open up a window that gives you the ability to put in your text. Announcements are a very basic tool and very easy to create. All you do is create an announcement. You're going to have whatever your announcement is. Or we're going to say exercise, exercise, exercise. Guess I can't spell. Okay. Test announcement. So whatever you want in here, you can put. It's just like any other rich text box where you can put text, pictures, videos. Just like if you're building content, it's the same items that you can put in this text box. It has all of your options. So whatever text you're going to put in here. Then the next step is you're going to go down and you're going to select what your web announcement options are. So this is good if, say, you want to pre-schedule your announcements. So if you go to number 5, this is what it talks about, is your web announcement options. If you choose date not restricted, that means as soon as you publish it, your announcement is going to be available to your students on your announcement board until you remove it. However, if you choose date restricted, it's going to ask you to display after. So it'll select date restrictions, which means you'll say, okay, I don't want to display this until after October 23rd at 1:16. So what that's going to do is it's going to pre-schedule your announcement for you. And when you do that, it kind of allows you to schedule all of separate announcements, and you can actually have them sent out in intervals. So if maybe you want to send out certain information to your students on a certain day, you can actually schedule your announcements for a week ahead of time. Or for your daily announcements, you can schedule them at the intervals that you want to. And then you can also have it up there only until a certain time. So if you want to send out information on your announcements, but then you only want it available for that day, then you can put display until and then put the date and time that you want it to then be not available. So as soon as it says not available, it's going to become invisible to your students. Now, the other option you have here is an email announcement. So that is what I was talking about when I said that you can send an email to your students even if they are not logged into Blackboard. So if you select this box, your students are going to be notified. It's going to send it to their inbox immediately to whatever email address you have in the system under their account. Now, if you notice the comment, it says students are still notified of this announcement even if this option is not selected. So what that should do is it should send a notification email to the students who are enrolled in your course, either that an email was sent out or that the instructor has posted something in the course, but it's not going to send out the specific email with the message. If you select the box, send a copy of this announcement immediately, what's going to happen is it's going to send it out right away. And I can tell you from experience, you want to be careful with this because I have done it where I sent out an edit and I accidentally sent that announcement out twice. Or I also sent out announcements to students from a course that was already over. So be very cognizant when you're using this that it's going to send it out immediately, whether you want it to or not. So say we want to send out to date not restricted and we want to send it out right away. So we would say date not restricted and we'd send a copy of this announcement immediately. So what if we want to send a welcome announcement and we want to include like your start here section, or you want to have a location that you want students to go to? You can actually embed a course link into your email or your announcement that students can go to directly. So it creates a hyperlink. If you notice in your webinar guide, I actually have instructions for this and I have a picture of what this looks like. So on page 4, if you click browse, it's going to bring up a little window that has you select whatever link you want, and it can be any part of your course. So if you want to link to, say, Unit A, once you click that, I'm not going to click the embed. Once you click that, it's going to show up as a hyperlink on the announcement. And whenever you create an announcement, it creates in order of, like in chronological order. So because I created that other one sooner, it shows at the bottom. And then the new one is going to show above that. You can see here that there's a hyperlink already embedded into the announcement. And if students click on that, it's going to take them to the Unit A folder. You can get back to your announcements just by clicking the announcements hyperlink in the menu. Now, if you go to page 5, it talks about reordering your announcements. So what if you're creating an announcement and you don't want it to be in that order? You can actually change the order that you want it in. Okay, and we have a question. It says, does it send it out immediately, even if the announcement would display, say, tomorrow? So that's a great question. I will tell you, if you are trying to send out an email and you want to try and put the date for a future, it will not let you send the email out immediately. It will not even let you do it. So if you're trying to do it for a future date, it will not let you check that box. So if you want to do it for tomorrow, you can pre-schedule it, but you will not be able to send out the immediate email. So good question. All right, so if you want to have certain emails or certain announcements like highlighted, you have this little bar here that says new announcements appear below this line. I like to, if you've ever heard of something like on Facebook, we have something we call pinning a page, where you can take a certain post and you pin it and it stays at the top. You can do something very similar here in Blackboard. So you have this little bar, and if you want to have a specific post, I should say, kind of stay put, like stay static at the top, all you have to do is drag this new announcements up here below this line under that post. And then any new announcements that you send out will not go on top of the pinned post. They'll all appear below the bar that says new announcements appear below this line. So an example I have of this is in AOL. And here, basically what I do is I keep my welcome page at the top. And if you look, you can see my new announcements appear below this line. So any announcement, you can see this, my welcome announcement was sent out on the 30th of September. However, you'll notice I sent one out today. And what happened was, because I have the new announcements appear below this line, underneath that pinned post, all my new posts are going to show up under that. Now, if you want all of your announcements to go, your new announcements to go straight to the top, all you have to do is move this bar to the top so that all of your posts, you just want to put it above all of your posts, so all of them, all the new posts will immediately be the first ones at the top. All right, so I'm going to move back to my demonstration. And if you see me switching back and forth, so that's what that little menu thing does, is if you are switching back and forth between courses, it'll allow you to switch back and forth, but it'll take you to exactly the same page that you are on. So as you can see, I'm on the announcements page, so it's going to take me to the announcements page on the other course I'm on. It makes it very easy if you're working in multiple courses. So what happens if you want to change the order? It's very easy to change the order of your posts. All you have to do is you get this little 4 thing icon, and you drag and drop. The other way that you can also reorder your posts is if you looked on the top in that same bar, all the way on the far right, you're going to see little up and down arrows. If you click on that, and you're going to see the list of the title of all your posts. All you have to do is highlight that, click the up arrow, click submit, and it'll automatically reorder your posts. It makes it super easy, so you're not having to struggle with dragging and dropping either. All right, so that's announcements. Very simple, but it's a really great way to get information out to your students on a widespread level. The next thing that we're going to look at really quick is blogs. So blogs are another tool. Now, if you don't have these in your menu, I'm going to show you, we talk about going to your control panel in your webinar guide. So what that is when you are in the instructor view or course builder view, under course management in your menu, you'll see, it'll look like this. It'll say control panel. You just click the arrow and it's going to open up your menu. All you have to do is go to course tools, expand that, and all of the tools that we are talking about are listed here under that section. So if you forever, for any reason, you don't have that link in your menu, you can still find your tools by going to this section. So let's go to blogs. Blogs are kind of an online journal. And if you think about a blog online, it really is used quite a bit as an opinion piece. So it gives students a little bit more flexibility than, say, in a discussion. It really allows students to have more free thought, whereas a discussion thread is a little bit more structured in the way that it is utilized. Generally because, as you mentioned, you have students that will post on one another's posts, and so you kind of have specific questions that you have them answer. Whereas the way that we utilize blogs in our courses is really more kind of like an essay almost. So we usually have students go out and do research, and then they come back and they have a guideline of questions, but they really are able to kind of summarize it and put things in their own words. All right, so blogs are very simple to create. And we start talking about those at the bottom of page 5, but the actual instructions for creating a blog topic start on page 6 of your webinar guide. So all you're going to do is you're going to select your blog tool. You'll go to Create Blog. And what this is going to do is it's going to create a topic. So you want to select whatever your topic is. So we're going to talk about gardening. And here is where you're going to put your instructions. So whatever your assignment is, this is where you would put those instructions. I'm usually make them very specific, and I put exactly what I want students to do, what I want them to include, but then also I sometimes include having them include a picture, a video, some sort of reference on where they got their information. You put your instructions here. Now, you can also make your blog available immediately, or you can say, no, I don't want it available. You can also limit the availability. So if you've ever heard of adaptive release, which is kind of a timed release, you make sure that the assignment is only available when you want it to be. This is where you would set that. So if you put limit availability, you would click here and you would put the date that you want it to be available. And then if you want it to not be available after a certain date, then you would put display, and then that would tell you what date you want it to be available. If you want it available right away, then you wouldn't put any dates in there. Blog participation. So if you want it to be individual to all students, so that would put their only certain students can participate, then you would click that. If you want course participation, that means everyone in the course can participate. Or if you also want to allow anonymous entries and comments, then you would select this. If you want names to be on the student entries, then you would uncheck the box. So when we talk about indexing, blogs will be grouped based on how you have them indexed. So you can either put it monthly, which means that if you have, say if your course spans between 2 separate months, if you have students post blogs on 1 month and then it crosses into, like say it's, a student will post 30 September and then another student will post 1 October, it'll organize it into separate months. The other thing that you can do is weekly. So if you have students that are posting on different weeks, then it's going to group them by week. It also allows you to determine how much control you want students to have over the posts. So if you want to allow them to edit and delete their entries, then you would want to check this box. And if you want to allow users to delete comments, which I do not recommend, because when we talk about comments, we're talking about comments from other students or instructors. So you don't want them deleting that. That's kind of like if you're on social media and you see a comment that you don't like and you're like, oh, I'm going to delete that. No, we don't want that. So I would not recommend allowing users to delete comments because you want to be able to see everything from the student instructor perspective. So grade settings. So you have the option to either have no grading, which means that they would just do the blog and it's not going to create a column in the grade center, or you can create a grade and you can just simply assign points, or you can add a rubric. So if you add say you select a rubric, you want to make sure that you have rubrics already loaded in there. And I realize I haven't talked about rubrics yet, so that gives me an idea for a future session. But if you add rubrics, you can also create a new rubric while you're sitting there, which I don't recommend. I recommend doing them first and then adding them later, or create from existing. Again, I don't have any loaded in there, so it's not going to show up. So here we're going to add some points. Say it's 20 points. The other thing that you will select is how many posts do you want to have the students post before it shows up in the grade center. You'll see this a lot on discussions, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But usually for blogs, it's 1 entry before the little yellow circle shows up in the grade center. And then once you're done, you click submit. And that's your topic. So once you click on the topic, the way that it's going to look, that's just creating a topic. In order to, this is just kind of creating that shell for your blogs. Blogs are visible to every student. So there's another tool called a journal entry, which I'm not going to go over today because it's very similar to a blog. But within a blog, all students are going to be able to see it. So when you're creating a topic, it creates an area for all of those blogs to show up. So for them to actually create an entry, you would select Create Blog Entry. And all of this starts on page 7 of your webinar guide. So this is generally where you're going to have your students actually create their post. And part of your instructions should dictate what you want your students to title their blog. So usually it's their first name dot last name. And the entry message is where they're going to post their assignment. So one little trick that I like to use is instead of having to expand this, which you can, I always like to recommend if you go to your 4 arrows, put it in full screen, and then you have the entire screen. to create all of your text. Oh, someone says, yes, rubrics training. Okay, noted. It'll probably be January. So this will open up the screen, entire screen, and then all you have to do when you're done is close your 4 arrows, and then that'll take you back to your smaller text box. In your blog section, you can also incorporate attached files if they want to add documents or whatnot. So then you would just post your entry. And it will create the post. And when I talked about indexing, you see the index list over here on the right. Additionally, if you see where it says all course members, there's a little down arrow, and it'll allow you to see all of your a list of all of your students. And you'll also see who's posted. If you see someone has not posted, you can click show members without entries. And it'll show all the students enrolled in the course, including those who have not posted yet. I'm the only one enrolled in this course, which is why it's not showing up. All right, so that is blogs. Again, all of this is all listed in your webinar guide. It's much more detailed, and it goes into your indexing. It also goes into how to indicate who needs grading. It'll also indicate what the in progress icon means, which just shows that a student is actually working on it. It also talks about how to create blog entries. And the window that you just saw is actually in the guide and walks you through what to select. All right, so now let's move on to discussions. Sometimes an hour just isn't enough, is it? So discussions, as I mentioned, discussions are probably the most popular tool used in your online courses. They're really good at for promoting discussion amongst students, allowing them to see different points of view from their peers. And although a lot of us kind of grumble about doing threaded discussions, I am one of them. I am not a fan of them as a student, but I will admit that a lot of times it can promote really great discussion, and you actually do get to see different points of view, which in turn can allow students to see several different aspects of a topic. So for discussions, when you click on your discussion board, it's going to look like this. It's going to look blank. So I'm going to show you what it looks like when you have several discussions posted. So this is AOL. This is a current class that I have going on that's actually live. And you'll see that when you create discussions, you're going to have several listed on your board. So as you can see here, I have my class introductions, I have my help forum. So all of your discussions are going to show up on one page. I do recommend that when you add your discussions into your assignment section, that you have it go to the discussion board rather than to a specific discussion itself, because then students can filter through all of the discussions to see their progress. Now, when you are accessing your discussions or you're looking to get into your discussion board, you're going to notice several different parts on your board. And if you look at page 12 of your webinar guide, I've got a little picture here that looks very similar to this. I actually got that off the help site. It's a great picture though, because it really labels what it is that you're looking at. So your discussions are going to be sorted however you want to sort them. So just like your announcements, you can drag and drop the discussions based on the order that you want them. Also, if you have a long board and you want to sort them, you have the same little shortcut that you do for the announcements. which is your little arrows. And if you want to change the order, just look for the title of your discussions, and you can change the order up. Like I said, this is an active class, so I'm not going to change the order. But all you have to do is click on the board, and you can click on the arrows, and it'll move it up or down. And then you would just click submit, and it'll reorder the board for you. So let's look at the board itself. What do all these little numbers mean? So obviously when you're looking at your discussions, you're going to see the title of the forum that you created. Then you have your text or your instructions for that forum is going to show up front. Then you have all these little numbers over here. So what do these numbers mean? So the first set of numbers is actually the total posts within that forum. The next column of numbers are your unread posts. So that'll tell you how many posts are new that you have not read yet. So that's a good indication that you need to go into that board and see what has been written. The next one is actually, so one little thing that I want to show you all is if you go to each of the boards, oh, I've read all my posts, so it won't let me click on that. But if you notice, if you hover over each of these little circles, you want to see all of the new posts that you need to read. If you click on it, it will show you only the new posts. So you don't have to filter through all of the ones that you haven't read yet. If you just click on that little circle, it'll show you which ones you've missed. That is actually something I use quite a bit in my own when I'm going to school, because if I'm waiting for other students to respond to me, I'll actually click on the replies to me, and then I know exactly who's responded to my posts, especially when you get long threads. It makes it super easy so you're not having to filter through a lot. So if you plan on using discussions for a larger class, this is a great technique to use so you can actually see who the new posts are. That way you can go in and grade. All right, so to create a discussion, I'm going to go back to my demonstration course. Go to my shortcut. Now, to create a forum, so in your webinar guide, I actually defined the difference between a forum and a thread. So your forum is where you actually discuss a topic, and your thread are the individual posts that your students will be creating. So the big ones where you saw where it had all the numbers, so on that main discussion board, that was your forum. So this is where you're going to put whatever your topic. So if this is a PC, you're going to put PC for alpha, discussion. The description is where you're going to put your instructions. So this is what your students are going to see when they go onto the discussion board. Also, your description will show up when your students go in to post their stuff, like their response. Put that there. Then you also have available. Do you want to make your forum available? Yes, no. Again, this is for your adaptive release. Very similar to your blog. Forum settings. So this is a little bit more complicated than your blog. If you want to view viewing your threads or replies. So if you want to do a blind response, meaning that you do not want your students to be able to see other students' responses. So for example, if you're trying to mitigate students copying one another, this is a great tool to use where you would say participants must create a thread in order to view other threads in this forum. So it's a great mitigation tool to avoid cheating. Standard view is they're able to see everybody else's posts before they post their responses. Grading, this allows you to create either assign points. You can grade individual threads. If you want to grade the entire forum, this is pretty much the common one, and then it'll allow you to see who they have posted in that forum. If you're grading individual threads, you're only grading that specific thread. So I generally do grade the discussion forum. Again, it'll allow you to select how many posts before it shows needs grading in the Grade Center. It'll also allow you to align or attach a rubric. You want to make sure that you have rubrics created prior to going through and attaching them. Subscribe. So I always like allowing members to subscribe to a forum. This is another great way to ensure that they're keeping tabs on what's happening in your course for both you and the students. So if you want students to be engaged with the content and you want them to be responding regularly, make sure that you allow them to subscribe. So if you have them subscribe to the forum, what's going to happen is that it's going to send them an email anytime anyone either posts in the forum or especially post to their thread. This is where you allow them to either delete their own posts, edit their own published posts, allow members to create new threads. I do like to allow them to edit their own posts because I know personally as a student, I've gone in many times and they're like, oh, I totally forgot to write that. But then this class that I'm taking now, for some reason, my instructor does not want us to edit our own posts, and it's really annoying. So from a student perspective, I know that that's really annoying, so I want to make sure that I allow my students to do it. So force moderation of posts. We're going to talk about moderation really quickly. Moderation is where the student will post, but it will not actually post in the forum until you as the instructor or a moderator will approve it. I actually did I put moderation in here? I did not. I actually took it out. So moderation is a little more in depth, and because this is basics, not advanced Blackboard, I did not add it, but there is the ability for you as the instructor to moderate posts so that you can review what students are posting. If, say, you're having an issue with maybe students are posting inappropriate material and you want to make sure that it is good to go before it makes it to public viewing, then you can force moderation. Post tagging and allowing members to rate posts. I don't generally do these just because it's a little difficult to figure out, so I usually leave those unchecked. So then you just click submit and it'll show up in your forum. I'm going to go through the rest of this really quick. So I know you guys want me to get to the Web 2.0 and I want to get there, and we're running out of time for our hour. So, all right, so that's your forum. Once they would click on this, this is where they would create a thread. So when they create their thread, they would put their topic. So the subject is my post, my topic. They would submit. And it shows up under, this is a thread now under the forum. So if you go back, you will see that there's one post, total participants, and that would be me. It'll essentially, when you have a bunch of forums that you've created, it'll have a long list like I showed you from the AOL discussion board. All right, so let's move on to the next tool, groups. Really, the main thing with groups is determining whether you want to allow students to self-enroll or manually enroll. And you have two options that you can do with groups. Groups, you can either create a single group, so you can do them one at a time, or you can create a group set. I really like the group set because especially if you're going to have multiple groups, you can do them at one time. So I'm going to show you really quick how to do a group set. So you're going to do select create, then you're going to do however you want them to enroll. So I like to do manual enroll. And then you are going to title your group information. So whatever you want to call this. So manual enroll and self-enroll. So self-enroll allows students to click on a group and enroll themselves in that group, whereas manual enroll, the instructor is the one who has to assign a student to a group. So that was the question someone asked, what's the difference between manual and self-enroll? Manual is the instructor enrolls them, self-enroll is the students enroll themselves in a group. And when you select self-enroll, basically what it'll do is it'll have the groups listed and you tell the students to click on a group to enroll themselves. Group projects. Group is visible to students, so you select yes or no. You also select what tools you want available. So you can have several different tools available in the group. Oh, another question is, what's the advantage or disadvantage to doing single group or group set? The advantage is if you are doing a single group, say if you only have one group at a time, or maybe you have like two groups, doing a single group, it'll allow you to have more control. Or if you're only doing one group, doing a single group is good. I like doing a group set because especially if I'm doing multiple groups at one time, you get them all done at once. So instead of having to do the same information multiple times, you just do it all in one shot. Saves you time, especially if you have a lot that you have to do at once. This is just a great tool to do that. So these are all the tools that are available that you can have in your group. You can allow personalization. For the group set, this is where if you have multiple groups, you determine how many you want to set up. So we're going to do 3. We're going to click submit. Now, you'll see that it creates your 3 groups already added where you see add users. So you can either add your groups, your users right there, or you can click submit and go back and add them later. And there you go. So you have 3 separate groups already done. If you do single group, you would have to do each of these, go through that process for each single group. Here, say you have, you've got to set this up for your class. It just does it all at once, boom, done, one shot. To me, I like it because it's just easy. All right, so that's creating your group. Also, if you notice, you can select whatever tools you want. You can also go back and remove any tools that you don't want. So if you want to go in, you can edit your group. Say you don't want them to have a blog, and you don't want them to have a journal. They don't need all of these. Submit. And it's removed that from the group. And then you're good. Go back to your groups and I'll have them listed. If this were a self-enroll, students would be able to see all of the groups available, and then they'd be able to enroll themselves. If you're doing a manual enroll, they're only going to see the group that you assign them to. If you select manual enrollment, it will not allow them to enroll themselves. So you have to select the self-enrollment option for them to be able to self-enroll. So the question was, can you create a group manually and still have the option for them to be able to enroll themselves? So no, the answer is no to that. You would have to select self-enroll for them to be able to enroll themselves in the group. All right, so let's move to a wiki. You're going to see that wikis, you have your group projects show up. The reason that you see the group projects is because we selected a wiki as a tool for the group project. In IDLE, we utilize the wiki as part of the group project because a wiki allows students to collaborate, multiple people to collaborate on one thing. So if you're familiar with Wikipedia, where anyone can go in and edit a page, it's the same idea. Let's go to our wiki. First thing that you're going to do with the wiki page is create a home page. Now the key with the home page is whatever your home page is, make sure you know that that's what you want. And this is something where your students are probably going to create the home page for themselves. So you're going to want to instruct them to make sure that they understand what it is that they are creating. So on here is your content. It's generally your instructions, but this is going to be the first page that is seen when the wiki is opened. Now the home page, you can actually create multiple pages. So again, in IDLE, the way that we use this, that it almost creates like a report because you can add more pages. So if you create another wiki page, submit, it'll create a second page and you can actually toggle back and forth. So aside, you can actually delete pages. The only one you cannot delete is the home page. If you notice and you click the down arrow, you'll see that you can edit it and you can delete page 2, but you cannot delete the home page. You would have to delete the wiki entirely in order to get rid of that home page. For them to collaborate, all they have to do is select Edit Wiki Content, and they can use a wiki to create a graphic organizer, they can post pictures, they can post text. It can be anything, and it allows them to collaborate on it. This is a great tool to use for if you need a sign-up roster, or if you're having them do a report together and post things that you want them to all participate in. A wiki is a great tool to use for that. In some of my classes, we've used it for a graphic organizer where each of us had to post certain pieces to a project. I've also seen it where it was used where we had to sign up for groups and the instructor put in a roster under a certain topic that we wanted to sign up for, and it allowed everyone in the class to edit it and put their names in there. Just a great way for anyone to edit things, and then everyone in the class can actually see it. So that is your wiki. All right, so I'm going to get into the last sling, which is your Web 2.0. And I know that's what several of you are excited about. Now with the Web 2.0, this is really about embedding content. So I'm going to open up Tube real quick. This is a great example of something that I use, and it actually kind of shows it in the picture in your guide. So say you want to use a third-party tool. You're going to want to start by building a content. Let's start by building a content item. Now, say you want to embed something into your actual content area. Actually, I know what I'm going to do. I will show you how to create an iframe. This is a great example of if you want to be fancy and if you want to have your, say you have slides that you want to embed in your course and you want to be able to have your students scroll through them right there and you don't want them to have to open another window. This is a super awesome tool. So one way that you can do that is you are going to select your insert or edit embedded media. On this, you're going to go to standby one. I need to do one extra step. I'm going to go to my other course where I already have something pulled up. So this is where I've embedded a bunch of videos. But say you want to have something like this. You want something like this to be shown up right away. What you're going to do is you are going to go into your content collection and go to the course content collection. And you're going to make sure that whatever document you are loading is uploaded as a PDF. So I'm going to pull up our DCS 2.0. You then go to your 360 view, find your permanent URL, copy that, close out of that, and go to your supplemental resources. And you're going to build a content item. And this method that I'm using, you can really embed anything. The key is also getting to know your HTML editor. I have Mr. Fresca's here with me, who's my HTML guru, and he's like super excited about HTML. All right. So we're going to use what's called an iframe. Basically, you're going to go to your insert or edit embedded media. Oh, and incidentally, I have a YouTube video that will show this. You're going to go to your iframe, and under source, embed this here. It'll automatically fix it. So you're going to go to your iframe, you're going to click your permanent URL that I showed you, and you're going to change your dimensions. and you're going to click Insert. I'm going to create a window. Once you click Submit, it's going to be magic. And then your students can just scroll through the document right in the text box. This is really good if you want slides. If you have slides, though, you are going to have to convert them to a PDF in order to do this. Now, if you want to add other media, say you want to embed something from a website, or you have Edpuzzle is a really good example. Another thing is YouTube. Sometimes the YouTube mashup button, you can't find the video, or you have something specific that you want to embed that you don't have the actual, I would say, link that you can link it to. You can embed a video using your HTML code. So if you go to YouTube and you find a video that you want to use, all you have to do is go to the actual video, and you're going to find the share button. Go to share, find embed, select copy, and if you notice, it already has the iframe in the embed code. So if you click copy, go to your HTML, one way to do it, and you hit Control V, update, submit, it'll add the video right there in the frame. And Mr. Natty, the answer is yes. And I will tell you, if you are local here at Keesler and you ever have questions that are complicated, or even if you're not a Keesler and you have more specific questions on how to embed something or how to utilize something in Blackboard, you are always welcome to call me. You're always welcome to email me, and I will be happy to sit down and kind of walk things over with you. All right, well, I wish I had more time to go a little bit deeper into things, but that's really the basics of embedding Web 2.0. That basic function of getting your embed code, embedding it into your HTML function, or you can also use the embedded media function. As long as you have that URL or you have that embed code from whatever Web 2.0 tool you are using, you can embed it into Blackboard. If you want to get it into something a little more complicated, I can walk you through how to do that. If you look in your webinar guide on page 28, there's a link for the top 200 tools in there. A couple of those tools that are included are some that we've used in our own courses. Canva is one, C-A-N-B-A. It's a great graphic editor. Another one that we use is Padlet. That one does not work on the AFNet though. If another one is PictoChart, and you can simply take those, you can create infographics on there, and that one you can get the embed code or the share code and embed that into your Blackboard item as well. So there's a lot of options that you can utilize. But unfortunately, we are out of time. I've actually gone over time. So I have questions. There are so many options that you can use when using these tools in ways to have students interact with each other and interact with the content. So does anyone have any questions before we go for the, oh, someone does have a question. Someone says, when you embed a video, does it save the video in the course, or is it basically a hyperlink to the video on YouTube? It is basically a hyperlink to the video on YouTube. You can embed a video, but it takes a really long time to load, and the size of the video can be an issue. So I would highly recommend that if you are going to embed a video, you house it on some sort of video platform. All right, can you embed a video in a module? And what would be listed as the type if using a PDF only? You can embed a video in a module, yes. And what would be listed as the type if using a PDF only? So I'm trying to see if I understand your question. So if using a PDF only, are you talking about like if you're embedding a document? You're just adding a PDF. That's the type. Hi, Shepard. I'm so glad you could join me. I know we're going a little bit over time. We have some really good questions, though. But this is still recording, so I will make sure I post the link if you guys are missing anything. Okay, so if you're just embedding a PDF, the key with that, if you're just going to embed like a PDF document, you would use like the little paper clip, and then that would open in a separate screen. But if you want to post like this, like the PDF in an iframe, you would need to make sure that you select iframe to embed that PDF in the area. But the key with embedding the PDF, like you saw on my screen, was going to that is uploading it into your course content or your course content collection, and then selecting that permanent URL. So it's a multi-step process. The beauty of this is I have a whole separate YouTube video that I can send all of you on how to do that. So when I send out the link for this recording, then I will send out that YouTube video. So the dimensions are included in that YouTube video I'm going to send you. I will definitely send you that video. Yeah, that's how I learned to do it, is this video. I'm going to send it out to you. And absolutely. I have a ton of references on our YouTube channel. I'm hoping is going to go public soon. So that way I can share all of the playlists I've created. All right, so I am over time. If there are no other questions, I know there's several people who've had to go. But this has been a great recording, a great session. And please feel free, if you have any further questions after we're done, reach out to me and I will be happy to help you out. And I saw, Mr. Nagy, that you're going to be giving me a call. So have a great Wednesday, and I will see you all next month. Bye.